Hey, what's going on guys? I'm Dbt03 here. Today we are back to cover set 3 Dragonic Overlord with Fade of Off.
Hello.
So let's actually just kick it right off. Overlord got a few cards in Dbt03, but there's mainly not much change, or if not none at all, to the list. It's mainly just in terms of ratios here and there. But we did try a new option that's actually really good for Overlord, and it's a card you definitely don't want to skip out. So let's get started with the right deck.
So, of course, you have your classic starter, Lizard Runner Undung. Standard overdrive starter. You go second, you get the draw, but it's Undung, so of course, since this is Overlord, you do want to play Lizard. You want to play Egg, also can. You want to play Desert Gunner, also can. You want to play the new Seal Dragon, Bluish Flame Dragon, Seal Dragon, also can. That one, honestly, I think that art is really cool. So if you play that one, I won't judge you. Your embodiment of armor bar is very classic and very iconic unit for Overlord. Once again, it's the right deck, so hasn't really changed much. When rolled upon by your Dragonic Nehalem, you get to counter +1 and search a deck for 1 grade 1 add to hand. So yes, it's just control skill from the original disc, but it's tied to the on-right skill. You can't just use it anytime you want. But it's really strong. So if your opponent damages deny you, they deny you the grade 1 search, but then they deny you doing damage as well. So, it's a 1-for-1 trade, and that early +1 to your hand, you can add a lot of different cards to hand. Like you can add, but more importantly, you're probably just gonna add a PG to hand, or you're gonna add a Togi Garashi to hand. So there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options that you can be choosing for bar, and it works out really well. And the second skill is that whenever your Vanguard's attack hits once per turn, he can become a 13k booster. So yeah, it just helps with the whole identity of Dragon Empire, which is magic numbers, and it makes bar very valuable to have on the field.
Our grade 2 is the Dragonic Nehalem.
Nehalem has 2 skills. His first skill is that when rolled upon by your Dragonic Overlord, you may call him from the soul to an open rearguard circle. And his second ability is that when he attacks or your Dragonic Overlord attacks, you may soul blast 1. Both this unit and your Dragonic Overlord on your Vanguard circle will gain 5k power until end of turn. So the end of turn is really important. It's not just for one battle. You can gain the extra power even after your Overlord restands, and you can hit for better magic numbers for your opponent to guard potentially. But guarding is something that your opponent won't be doing much for Overlord, because we have, of course, our king himself, Dragonic Overlord. His first ability is that when he Vanguard a rearguard circle, for some reason it's a rearguard skill. When he attacks a rearguard, your opponent cannot call cards from hand to guard. So basically it means that your attack, unless your opponent plays something like Ghost Chase, or they play an order that increases your rearguard's power, you are always going to be hitting that rearguard attack, which can proc a myriad of skills that require your Vanguard attack to hit. But more importantly, his second skill is the thing that Overlord is most well known for, which is that when his attack hits, you counter at the end of the battle. He attack hits on the Vanguard circle, you counter +1, discard 1, you stand him and he gains drive -1. So with the fact that he can guarantee that on hit on the rear guard, it means that you're looking at a triple drive Vanguard every single turn, or you're looking at a potential triple drive every single turn with the on hit pressure your opponent has to deal with if you attack the Vanguard twice. So that's something to consider as an Overlord player. But generally, I think the safety net has really increased the reliability as well as the ceiling of this deck as a whole, and it just makes Overlord a very strong boss of Dragon Empire. Together with Nirvana and Eugene and the new Seal Dragon Girl that we're getting, Overlord is definitely still up there, and his power definitely won't be eroded for a very long time.
Moving on to our main deck, we play 4 copies of Dragonic Overlord, 1 in the right deck, and we play 3 Tribash. We play 4 Overlord for very simplistic reason, it's just for the persona, right? But let's talk about Tribash.
The Tribash ability is that when your Vanguard attacks, if your opponent has 2 or less rear guards, you may put this unit into the soul, and to the end of that battle, your Vanguard will gain critical +1. So it's just there to help Overlord gain more crit pressure, especially since he's already hitting for a single drive. So So on your or unless you want to go for that first really powerful swing to force your opponent to guard, tri-bash can really help in that sense. Why you may be thinking he needs 2 or less rear guards, and you may think Overlord doesn't really have that much retire options. Well, you will see in our grade 2 lineup that this deck, as well as this deck, as well as Overlord's main ability to just hit a rear guard for basically free. You'll proc this ability more often than not, so he just is a really good tech option for your deck, and that's why you play him at 3 and not 4.
Moving on to our grade 2s, we play a copy of Nahalem for the right deck, and we play another 3 in the main deck. We play 4 copies of Berserk Dragon and 4 copies of a new card, Desert Gunner Ethan.
Yes.
And Nahalem is really straightforward. Obviously, he's just really good for the deck. He converts your soul into power for not just himself, but for the Overlord. So, generally speaking, this is why our deck is quite soul heavy. It's really just because of Nahalem and the amount of magic numbers he can just bring to the board. So, more is always better. Then, of course, we move on to Berserk Dragon, a familiar face.
The Berserk Dragon skill is that when he attacks, if your Vanguard has Overlord in his card name, so you can't do this in the early game, he gains 5k, so he's a 15k beater just like Nahalem without needing the soul plus cost. But his second ability is the more important one, which is that after you gain this power when he attacks, you counterblast 1. You may choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or less rear guards and retire them. So this is what we meant by this deck having some retire and control options in addition to Overlord being able to strike 1 rear guard for free at return. So
Berserk Dragons plus 5,000 power is absolutely free. It's the counterblast 1 to sack that's just additional. So if you don't use it, you can just use it as a good 15k body, and it's still pretty good. But if you want to retire, you can also do that, and it will help the deck further on.
Yes, but overall, I think Berserk Dragon is definitely a staple for this deck going forward until he gets power crap by a better retire option. Speaking of being power crap, let us move on to our newest addition, which is Desert Gunner Ethan. So Ethan, his skill will remind you of a card that we played in this deck last set. Dragon Monk, the encounter card Dragon Monk Gojo, because his skill says, when your Vanguard attack hits, you may retire this unit and you may counter charge 1 and draw 1 card.
It's a cycle and a counter charger. As long as your Vanguard attack hits, unlike Gojo, which just needed to boost the attack, then it counter charged, so it's actually a net minus for that skill. This is actually a cycle.
Yeah, but the consequence is that he's a 9k. He's only a 9k grade 2. So unlike in V where Excel and Protect had only 9k grade 2 Vanguards, he's not hitting anything without a booster unless you go first. But generally, you're not gonna use him to beat because we have plenty of other units that made for much higher numbers than Ethan can ever hope to hit. But his cycle is insane. His cycle for Overlord to be able to draw into your pieces, to be able to get what you need in the deck. For a deck that doesn't really have many draw options, it is a breath of fresh air to finally have something that can take your trash and replace it with something good, like a Nahalem, a Berserk Dragon, a Togi Garashi, or a PG even. I mean, so there really is almost no downsides to playing Ethan compared to playing Gojo. But if you like to play Gojo, then it's still up to you. It's just a tech option. But in our opinion, with our testing, we still feel that Ethan is the way to go for your resource management problems in Overlord.
Moving on to our grade 1s, we play from the right deck 1 copy of the Embodiment of Armor Bar. We play another 3 for the right deck. We play 4 copies of our stronger PG. We play 4 of the ultra staple Toji Chirashi, and we play 2 copies of Entan. So let's break it down. We play the stronger PGs. It's quite obvious, and then we play Bar. Bar is just great for the right deck, and he's a great 13k body, both as a booster and as an attacker if you need him beat. So there's generally just no downside to having him around.
Togi Garashi is quite obvious as well because we do need a lot of soul in his deck, and well as he's basically he can be used for, and Overlord will discard cards very often for his own skills, so he will be very important. And there's one more thing I forgot to mention, that you can add that because Ethan's skill basically is a mirror of Overlord's actual skill cost to counterblast 1, discard 1, where Ethan counter charges 1 and draws 1. You may actually want to time it so that you can get Ethan first, so you can draw into a Togi Garashi and thus make Overlord's discard cost into a +1 to your soul. So that's really important, and it has doubled the importance of having good discard fodder like Togigarashi in your deck, because you want to use it for Harlem, and of course you want to use it for our still standout grade 1 from last set, which is Entan. So Entan's skill is very simple. Is at the end of the battle that his boosted attack hits, you may Soul Blast 1 and retire this unit. You choose one of your units and it gains 10,000 power. So it's a very simple 10,000 power, but 10,000 power in a deck that has 3 drives and attack 4 times and can hit for numbers, easily hit for numbers like 38,000, 48,000, is something to behold. It's really can swing games in situations when you realize that your opponent has gone through all 4 of their PGs, their OT is out, many of their high shield cards are out. 10k is all you need to swing the game in your favor and then win. So yeah, so I mean obviously because you play him at 2, because number 1, he's a tech option once again. So you won't need him in every single scenario. He's just nice to have in the situations where he can help you win, as well as also because he's a grade 1, we can search him with bars on rights, being ridden skill. In the event that you draw too many PGs or you don't need Togigarashi, he is a very fantastic option to keep in your hand for that all or nothing scenario.
Moving on to our grade 0s, we play Drag Veda as our OT, we play 8 crits, 4 heals, 3 draws, and our starter is Undung. So let's break it down. Undung's pretty obvious, he's our starter. Then we can now move the rest of the cards a bit up, then you can see them. No, now there's 2 up.
Okay,
That's good enough.
Yeah, so we play 8 crits because this deck, because this deck already pluses its front row enough, so you play crits so because you want to win the game with your Vanguard Strike, as well as passing the crit to other units. And with Tri Bash, your Vanguard's crit can go all the way up to the 3 to 4 crits on depending on how many yellow cards you flip. So yeah, that is very terrifying. So more crits the better.
We played the non-soul crits because we just can't afford it, but if you want to buy the soul crits, it's fine, although Overlord doesn't really have much use for it.
Yeah.
We play heals
because it's card fight Vanguard, you want to win the game. And we play draws because it's a beach reliant deck in the end, and draws are also good fodder for Overlord if you don't have Togigarashi. So yeah, still very important in this deck. And we play Drag Veda because it's basically just Overlord the trigger. So of course you play Overlord the trigger in Overlord the deck.
And it just makes sense because Overlord just appreciates how many Vanguard attacks you can get in.
And Drag Veda also helps you so that if you want to, you can actually restand using Drag Veda's skill and then attack another rear guard and then use Overlord's actual skill. Then you can gain 5 uncontested drive checks basically without needing to do anything.
And that wraps it up for our Dragonic Overlord deck profile. Very similar to set 2. There's only changes in terms of the ratios, but as you can see, the deck still holds up. When we said in our previous deck profile that this deck's pretty good, we really meant it because it's still almost the same. Ethan just helps as a more superior way of countercharging and cycling. But I think beyond that, it shows that Overlord was really cool, and it's still definitely a good deck to pick up if you're still in set 2. It's still something worth your money. In set 3, as you can see, most of the cards still age very well. So yeah, who knows?
I mean, the only other support that Overlord got this set was the 8k grade 2 that gains 10k if your Vanguard attack hits. So that's if you want to try the option, it's up to you. But for us, I think we want to just stick with our cards that if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye bye.